Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video will be on this beautiful gown. More like an A-line dress with pleats, and then some designs at the upper side of it. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark a straight line to serve as our starting point. And then for the full length of this gown, my full length is about 32 inches, but I am taking out 10 inches from it. So my measurement is going to be starting from 10 inches. So let's place our 10 inches here. And then I'll go ahead and mark the full length of this gown. So for this gown is for a 7 to 8 year old, so I'll just mark a line straight, or let's do it for a 9 to 10 year old. So, and you know it's a short gown, so I'll go ahead and connect this line straight. So this is our full length, and our stitching allowance will be added while transferring this to our fabric. So remember, we took out 10 inches, so by the time we add 10 inches it will be about 35 inches. So I'll just still placing my tape at the starting point. I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust point, which is at 8 inches. So I'm going to be using this pattern to mark the front and the back, but we're going to mark the front first. Then while transferring it to our back pattern, we'll now mark the neckline and then add our zipper allowance. So once I am done with that, I'm going to go ahead and mark my neckline. And for the depth of my neckline, I am marking at 3.5 inches. And then for the width, I am marking at 3 inches. I'll go ahead and connect these points. So this is for the front neckline. The back neckline, I'm going to be marking at 1.5 inches. So once I am done with that, I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Remember, I said I'll be adding my stitching allowance as we're transferring to our pattern. So once I am done with this, I'm going to go down by 0.75 for my shoulder slope, and then I'll connect it to our starting point. The reason for marking with this paper is so that the designs around the armhole and the neckline, we can use this paper to mark it, to cut them out. So once I am done with that, I'll go ahead and mark my bust measurement divided by 4. My bust measurement divided by 4, which is 7.5 inches. And then I'll connect this. I'll connect my armhole. And I forgot to mention, I'm supposed to add 1 inch for ease. When you look at the style, you see that it's not something that is supposed to have it's not supposed to be fitted. So that's why I am adding 1 inch for ease. And every other stitching allowance will be added when we are transferring this to our pattern paper, to our fabric. So I'll measure what I have here. I have about 8.5 inches. I'll transfer it to here, 8.5 inches. And then I'll add extra. This extra inches depends on how extended you want the slant coming down to this place is. So I'll just mark 2.5 inches. Let's not do too much and let's not do too little. So I'm going to connect this point to this point. So this is what we have after I was done. If you wanted to have a more slanted curve or line, you extend this to up to about 5 inches, and then you curve it to this label. For me, I don't want it to be too curvy or too slanted. So this is what we have for our front bodice. So guys, I have these fabrics that I want to use. So this is the first one, and then this is the second one. I don't know which one to use at this point. So I have this fabric that I want to use, a satin fabric and a shiny face as well. So I don't know which serves better. What do you think? Can I hear your suggestion in the comment section? Which do you think fits better, this or this? At this point, I don't know. So guys, I'm done cutting out the front pattern. So this is what we have, and this is the fabric I decided to use. I hope I made the right choice. Just leave a comment below and tell me if the other one would have been perfect for this style. So for the back one, the same way I added stitching allowance to the front is the same way I added to the back. I added 1 inch to the side, and then ½ inch around the armhole, and then the neckline, then also as well as this side. But for the back one, we have zipper allowance to it. And then for the neckline, just like I said, from this starting point, I'm going down by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to connect it this way. So this 1.5 inches, remember, if we cut it this way, that means by the time we stitch it down, it will be about 2 inches. So I'll just go up by 1/2 inch, since this measurement started from this stitching allowance. So I'll be using this 1/2 inch to stitch it down. I hope you get this. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. So guys, for this design on this, I'm going to be marking from this armhole downward by 3 inches. So we have 3 inches, and then from here I am marking 2.5 inches. So I'm going to connect this way. So this is what we have. So by the time you want to cut it out, I'll be adding stitching allowance to around this 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Then at this point, I'm going to be adding 1 inch so that it will extend into the gown. I hope you understand. So I'll cut this out, and then we'll transfer it to our pattern. So guys, this is the armhole area, and you can see I added stitching allowance all around, and 1.5 inches, just like I said, at the seam side of it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the facing. So I'll be using the front pattern to cut out this facing, but whatever I do to this front, I'll repeat the same process for the back. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to arrange my fabric well, making sure that my pieces are arranged well. Then I'll bring in just like I said, I'm using satin fabric. So this is satin fabric. Then I'll go ahead and fold this fabric into 2, and then I'll bring in my front bodice. Remember I said I'm using my front bodice. So I'll make sure that this center line aligns with the folded part of it. Then I'll pin that area down first, because it's more important. If there's any mistake there, you can hardly adjust it. So once I pin that down, I'll arrange every other side, and then I'll go ahead and pin this down. So this facing is going to be about, from my neckline, is going to be about 4 inches down. But because I'm going to be folding it at this end, I'm going to be doing let's do 5 inches, so that I don't struggle with folding it. So I'm doing 5 inches, and remember this other side too, we'll be using 1/2 inch to turn the neckline from this other side. So by the time we are done half, you have 4 inches left. So I'll do 4 inches. Then from the shoulder place, from this shoulder line, remember from the armhole we came in by 2.5 inches, which ended here. Then from this neckline, I am doing 3.5 inches. So I'm doing 3.5 inches, but I'm adding extra inches to this 3.5 inches to fold it in. So I have 4 inches from the neckline to this place. By the time you fold it in, it will end here. So 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and take out this front one, and then I'll connect this all the way to this place. And remember I said whatever I do to this, I'll repeat the same process for the back one. So let me just pin this down so that it doesn't keep moving. So I'll connect this way. So this is what we have. So I'll put my neckline, so I can trace out my neckline and then cut it out. So this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So guys, this is what we have for the front facing. So I'll do the same thing for the back one as well. So guys, this is it after I was done cutting. So for the armhole facing, I just hope you guys can hear me. It's raining, and very serious rain, heavy one. For the armhole facing, so the front of my satin is facing the back of my gown. So I'll place it this way, and then I'll bring the other one, I'll place it again at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch that we added all the way to this end, and I'll do the same thing for this other side. I'll stitch it all the way to the end. I'll repeat the same process for the back. So once I am done stitching it, let me use my pin and hold this down so that I can flip it to the other side. And remember, what I do for the back, I'll do for the front. So once I am done doing that, I'll make notches around this curved area, and then I'll turn it to the front. I'm finding it difficult to turn it because it's yet to be stitched down. So let's move the pin a bit forward. So once you turn it to the front, you should have something like this. Remember, this will be stitched. So you have something like this. So you go ahead and iron this down if you have a means of iron. But if you don't, so the next thing we are going to be doing is to just fold in by 1/2 inch and then top stitch. So while top stitching this, you're going to be like very careful so that your work will be very neat. So you're going to go ahead and top stitch this all the way from the beginning to the end. I'll do the same thing for this other side, and then also for the back one. So guys, this is what we have after I was done. So this is for the back. This is how it looks like, and then this is for the front. So you go ahead and iron this out so that it will lay flatter than it is now. So for the facing, I'll bring in my facing. At the time, I wanted to do this to have an inseam finishing at the shoulder, but let's not stress it. So I'm going to go ahead and place the front of my facing to the back of my gown. I'll place it this way, and then I'll go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch all around to the end. Once I am done with that, remember what we did for the armhole facing. So once I'm done with that, I'll make notches on the neckline, and then I'll turn it to the right side, and then I'll go ahead and fold it by 1/2 inch. I'll fold it by 1/2 inch, then I'll top stitch it all the way to the other one, and I'll repeat the same process for the back as well. So guys, this is what we have. So the gown is coming together pretty well, you can see. So just like I said, you go ahead and iron this out. I've not ironed mine at this point. So this is for the front. This is what we have. Oh my goodness. So this is what we have, and then this is for the other back as well. So there's a bit of somehow it's looking somehow that I don't like, so I'll have to re-stitch here just to put this in a bit. So apart from that, so the next thing you're going to be doing is to do front facing front at this point. So we are going to be doing outer stitching, so it is not too difficult for us. I wanted us to do inseam finishing, but let's just do this and move on. So I'll go ahead and then stitch this down by 1/2 inch, and I'll repeat the same process for this other side. Make sure that while stitching that it aligns well, and then you're going to go ahead and stitch this as well. So I forgot to mention this back area. Make sure that while stitching these two, let me turn it to the front so that you guys will see it. So make sure that while stitching, folding in these two edges, that it is the same measurement, because if not, when you want to stitch your zipper allowance, you find out that this one side is longer than one side or shorter than one side, whichever. So after stitching one side, measure it and make sure that while stitching this other side, that what you are folding in is the same measurement with the sister or the brother side. So if you look at mine, you'll see that it's the same measurement. So when I want to stitch my zipper now, I won't find it difficult. So that's what I wanted to mention before we continue. So let's go and stitch on our shoulder. Once we are done, I'll also stitch on my seam line. Remember, we added 1 inch. So I'll place it this way as well, and then stitch it down, and I'll do the same thing for this other side. So guys, this is what we have after I was done stitching it. So this is what the front looks like, and this is the back, what it looks like. So for the plate part, I cut out a fabric. I measured my hem side. I measured it and I doubled measurement plus some inches. I think about 10 to 12 inches extra, but it depends on how scanty or full your place you want it to be. So I'll go ahead and fold this by. So for the length, remember we took out 10 inches from here, so I cut out 10 inches plus 2 inches stitching allowance. So I'll go ahead and fold this by 1.5 inches, And then when we are done plaiting it, we are going to be using half inch to attach it to the when we are done hemming it, we are going to use the half inch to attach it to the body. So to attach it, I'm going to open the gown to the front, and then I'll bring in this fabric, so that's front facing front. I'll place it this way. I'll first of all stitch my zipper allowance. We're not plaiting on it. Then after my zipper allowance, I'm going to go ahead and start plaiting this way. And just like I said, this plaiting depends on how much fabric you have, one, and then how full you want it to be. So I'll keep plaiting this way until I get to the end of it. Then for the bow on the style, so this is the fabric I have. That's all I have. So I have 10 inches for the width, for the length. Then for the width, I have 15.5 inches. So I'll go ahead, it's folded into two, so I'll go ahead and stitch all the way around, and then I'll leave about 2 inches to turn it to the right side. Once I am done, I'll gather it at the center of it. So this is what we are going to have once we are done. So I'll repeat this. Sorry. So this is also the other I don't know what to call it. So for the length of it, remember the one is shorter than one. So for the length of it, I have 31 inches for this length, and then the width is 3 inches. It's folded into two. So at the edge of it, I'm going to slant this way. Let's do it. So from one side, I'll slant it this way, and then I would still do the same thing for this other side. So this is the other strap of fabric, and then you know that this one will be shorter. So I have this one as 21 inches, so it's shorter by 10 inches. I'll do the same. The width is the same, 3 inches on fold. So I'll do the same thing I did for the other side. I'm going to slant the two edges, and then I'll stitch from one end to the other. I'll leave about 2 inches to turn it to the right side. I'll then stitch close this other side. Once I am done, I'll turn it to the right side, and then stitch the openings that I have on every part of it. And so guys, this is what we have after stitching it. So all I have to do is to join these two together, place it under this bow, and then use my hand needle to join it together. Then I made this bit of fabric to cover up the rough edges, and this is what we have. As you can see, I'm yet to iron this out, so that's why it's looking like a balloon. So by the time I iron it out, it lays flat. And then for our gown, this is what we have for our pleats. So this is it. So this is what we have. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to close up my zipper allowance, and then attach my zipper to it.